Ranking Ghostface, the Scream movie reviews. The Scream horror film franchise consists of 4 films that ran from 1996 to 2010. The series is unusual in the horror genre not only for all of the films being directed by the same man, horror legend Wes Craven, whose other credits include the timeless original classic A Nightmare on Elm Street, but having the same 3 core actors also appear in each film, namely Courtney Cox as hard-ass reporter Gale Weathers, David Arquette as the well-meaning if slightly clueless Dewey Riley, and Neve Campbell as the franchise's primary heroine, the seemingly indestructible Sidney Prescott. The films also differentiate themselves from other horror franchises by the lack of a central villain figure such as Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Chucky etc., as while the killers in all 4 films all hide their identity behind the same iconic Ghostface mask, they are all actually different people, and the murder mystery aspect of the series is one of its defining features, although all of them use the same voice modulator that is always voiced by Roger Jackson. The original Scream, entitled simply Scream, was written by Kevin Williamson, who also wrote Scream 2 and 4 and is otherwise most famous for creating iconic late 90s early 2000s teen drama series Dawson's Creek. In addition to the aforementioned cast members, the original film also starred Drew Barrymore, Skeet Ulrich, Matthew Lillard, Rose McGowan, Jamie Kennedy and Henry Winkler. The small town of Woodsboro comes under siege from a masked killer targeting the town's teenagers in particular, with Sidney Prescott, whose own mother was brutally murdered a year earlier, seemingly the primary target of the madman. As is so often the way, the original remains the best of the series and almost certainly the scariest, even with its large dose of humor and knowing referencing of slasher horror movie tropes. The original film is an out-and-out classic of the genre and of the 90s, with a spectacularly intense climax. Scream is one of my favorite films of all time and deserves nothing less than a full-on A+. The second in the series, Scream 2, was released just a year later in 1997 and also starred Sarah Michelle Gellar, Liv Schreiber, Jada Pinkett, Jamie Kennedy, Future House star Omar Epps, Timothy Olyphant and Roseanne's Laurie Metcalf. Sydney is now at university and trying to build a new life for herself, only for the release of a tacky Hollywood slasher based on her real-life ordeal to seemingly inspire another maniac to target her and those closest to her. Scream 2 is often judged the best of the sequels, but in my usual inimitable manner I have to say it's probably my least favorite of the sequels. It's not bad by any means, but I find both the opening sequence and the climax rather underwhelming and the weakest ones in the franchise. I give Scream 2 a reasonable enough B. Scream 3 was released in 2000 and was intended to be the final film in the series. Scream 3 is the only one not written by Kevin Williamson, with Aaron Kruger instead taking on script writing duties, and also stars Parker Posey, Lance Henriksen, Scott Foley, Carrie Fisher and Jay and Silent Bob, rather astoundingly. When people connected to the production of Stab 3, the Hollywood movie series based on the real-life killing sprees in the first 2 films, start getting murdered, series survivors Sidney, Gale and Dewey fear the nightmare is starting all over again. Why is the new killer so obsessed with finding Sidney? And why do they keep leaving photos of Sid's mom as a young girl at the scene of every murder? The third film in the great horror series often comes in for stick from fans, with most judging it the weakest of the series, but to be honest I've always liked it and still do, and indeed actually prefer it to the second one. Certainly the climax is a lot stronger in my not particularly humble opinion. Still a lot of fun, I give Scream 3 a very solid B+. The fourth and seemingly final, both because of a relatively lackluster performance at the box office and the subsequent death of Wes Craven, film in the series was released 10 years later and in addition to the original cast also starred Emma Roberts, Hayden Panettiere, Alison Brie, and Marley Shelton. After many years, Sidney Prescott goes back to her old hometown of Woodsboro to reunite with old friends and promote her first book, a kind of survivor's manual for people who have experienced great trauma. Wouldn't you know it, some psycho takes this as their cue to start its trauma all over again. At the time I was a bit wary of the worthiness of doing another one, especially after so long, but as it turns out, Scream 4 is a scream. From the sly movie within the movie opening through to the end, and the chilling reenactment of the end of the original, with some nice reversals of expectation along the way, I had a blast with it. And the identity of the primary killer was a genuine surprise. I didn't even remotely suspect them until about 60 seconds before the reveal, and that was only because there weren't many other people left by then. And even then it seemed a long shot. Nicely played. The motive was pretty chilling too, and scarily believable in today's world. I actually think Scream 4 is the best of the sequels and I give it a straight A. I love the Scream movies. One of my absolute favorite horror film franchises, and a perennially rewatchable one. I give the series as a whole a straight A.